Around the Ozarks is now on your FM radio. Listen to Around the Ozarks mornings with Grace Gooley as I spotlight local people, stories, and podcasts, all while playing the country legends of the 90s and the hit makers of the 2000s. It's on the Ozarks' best country, 105.1 The Bull.
Fishing's better when you share the experience. Meet new fishing partners through the Co-Angler app. Offer trips, request trips, connect with anglers in your area, and share the cost. Make every trip more affordable and more fun. Co-Angler, connecting anglers one trip at a time.
Welcome to Beyond the Gate, a podcast sharing the grit, growth, and spirits of rural life. From fields to front porches, this is where the heart of agriculture comes alive. Today we go beyond the gate with someone I know pretty well, and probably better than anyone else, an idea man, an innovator, an entrepreneur, but at the end of the day, a cattleman, and my husband, Kevin Johansen. Welcome to the studio.
It's glad to finally be here.
I can't believe I'm letting you sit across from me.
Well, usually I was behind the camera.
Yeah,
and doing
years
sound.
ago. Okay, so this is a dangerous question. Who is Kevin Johansen?
Well, that's a complicated question.
Very.
That you know very well. Myself, I work by myself more often than not. So we, grew up on a family farm in central Missouri. We were mainly crop farmers that had a spot of grass for Charolais cattle. Mm-hmm. And so I was basically on an island on the cattle side of things. So we were a very grazing intensive farm and focused more on commercial bull sales and show cattle growing up. And that's how you and I met.
It is. We'll get to that for sure. Okay, Syracuse, Missouri. I always say Tipton, and I get corrected all the time. You're from Syracuse.
Yes.
Went to high school in Tipton.
Our address is Syracuse, the suburb of Tipton, Missouri. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Tipton because it's the crossroads of Highway 5 and Highway 50 and the gateway to the Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh, you're giving it a lot of credit today.
It is. It was prime real estate for a lot of fast food operations, but the community kept most of those out because everybody from Kansas City and north always came through Tipton, Missouri during Lake of the Ozarks season.
But 5 and 50 still there thriving.
It is. It is the greatest cheeseburger and cheese balls, not cheese curds, and milkshakes.
Okay, so did you always see yourself in agriculture?
Yes. There was an interesting time that it was kind of a decision-making process where our oldest daughter is at right now. Mm-hmm. Whenever I was our daughter's age, who is now 12, going into the summer between 6th and 7th grade year, played a lot of sports growing up. Mm-hmm. And had our cattle operation, and it was kind of put forth on the table, are we going to show cattle or are you going to play baseball? We can't do both because it's too busy. And took a while, but ended up doing cattle and always been in and around agriculture. Both of the family operations, like I said, were crop farms, but both of them were century farms that were, founded in the mid to late 1800s, and so that was always kind of cool. And there was just not as much opportunity on the cattle side in that area because Tipton was an anomaly as far as yielding on the crop side because it was more of a plateau versus river and creek bottom ground.
Higher commodity on those corn and bean prices than cattle for sure over the years,
especially back in the 90s and early 2000s.
So we're going to come back to the farm, but we're not going to leave agriculture. I want to talk to you. I always call you an idea man, and I'm an idea crusher.
Yes, that is true.
And I'm an idea person, but when it's you and I, one of us has to be the balance. And our relationship over the years has had many ups and downs, but the moment I finally realized that we were the same person, that we had very similar personalities. I was like, oh, this makes sense. For anyone interested or has any background in Enneagrams, we are both Enneagram 3s, and that can be scary at times, especially for our family. But you have good ideas, and you have many ideas. Let's reframe that.
Did you say many good ideas?
I said many ideas. Where does that come from?
I don't know. So my dad is a retired ag lender, a community bank in Tipton. He was also worked at a couple other banks throughout his time, but got asked to come to Tipton Latham Bank in 1982, which was back home for my parents. My mom was a real estate agent, and so she started her own business. My mother's a little more quiet and reserved, but we always had opportunities to do a lot of things. I mean, myself and siblings, I got handed over the lawn mowing business that we had, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 yards in Tipton.
If your brother was here, he'd say the one that he started and just gave you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I've heard that story a lot.
That and many other things. I mean,
we don't need to go down those rabbit holes.
But I mean, being involved in 4-H and FFA and having those opportunities to find your place as an individual in a small town was always kind of those deals. I mean, we had competitions in FFA, ag sales. Also, Tipton had DECA, which was the business competition. So always was thinking about different ideas, and I mean, had other little small businesses while I was in high school and college. And
one I want to bring up is, I can't even remember the name of the sale, but you and Gary Ritchell started...
Calf Quest.
Calf Quest, yes. That goes down memory lane. Tell us about that. That was, kind of pretty innovative at the time.
Yeah, Calf Quest was, it started out as a sale, and we went around and asked local producers. We were just trying to find steers for kids in the surrounding counties.
How old were you?
We were 16, 17. I think we took it all the way through I think it was a 5-6 year run.
Because we were still dating and you still had 2 sales.
Yeah, well, and then it morphed into a sale and show weekend that was held at Midway Expo Center in Columbia. But we kind of just started because we both showed cattle. Gary went to high school in California and is currently the ag teacher at California right now. And he's teaching with my ag teacher, Gary Morris, together at California. So we started just to allow kids that needed steers for their county fair projects. And then it kind of grew on its own and got better. We'd have the sale at Boonville Livestock Marketing.
And you were breaking all the steers and...
Yeah, we brought them. Probably 75% of those lots got brought to Syracuse, Missouri, and we'd tie them up, get them fairly broke, mostly green broke to tie up, get them wash clipped, and then, we had a bunch of friends that also consigned some of their calves, but there was, 10 to 15 of us that all pitched in and made a sale order and all that. So
one of your very first innovative ideas.
Yes, that would have been the first one. The other one that was pretty close was back before they had all the nice fitting mats that the show supply trailers sell now. The big thing was wrestling mats as fitting mats, and we were switching out. we were switching out the hand-me-down wrestling mats for the newly Tipton wrestling team, and 10 of us loaded it up in the back of my little half-ton truck, and I had to take the back roads home because it was out. And I cut up, 20, 30 different sets and had them all sold by the end of that show season.
I remember we were still hauling one of those mats when I met you.
Yeah. The bad thing about those mats, when it was really cold, it turned into concrete.
Yeah, they were heavy.
Yes.
Yeah. Most people would have no idea what we're talking about, but your knees start hurting when you're on them all day fitting.
If some of our friends see this, I know of
They remember.
I know of 2 people right off the top of my head that might still have a black and gold fitting mat.
Okay, so lots of ideas. I will tell you one of the ideas that I know you had. I don't know if we were married or very early on in our life. I don't remember if you remember this idea. You wanted to turn a bus into a stock trailer, and with the living quarters and cattle and all this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
you drew up the plans and everything.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because many times, especially now, the show road has changed very much. So
It's
because
got a little fancy.
Well, not only that, but the big strings are not taken out like they were when we were in college. I mean, we worked for show strings that had
20 plus.
or 40.
Yeah.
And so it was a cool idea to take an old charter bus and take kind of the idea of what the big draft horse haulers, but then you can haul your crew and bathroom in the
Double
back.
decker
And oh, yeah. They could load right off the belly. Now, if somebody takes that, hopefully we can take advantage of it.
Got
But
record.
that's a good idea for any of those trailer manufacturers out there.
I mean, like, I could sit here all day thinking about all the other random ideas that we've said no to. But let's talk about one idea that turned into something. What is Ag Butler?
Yeah, Ag Butler came out of when podcasts really started to come about, which is interesting because talked many a times on podcasts about Ag Butler and how it all started. But that was whenever we moved back to Lebanon and I was doing a sales job and started picking up on podcasts and started connecting the dots and spent 2 days in the tractor bush hogging a hayfield because we didn't get it
We had
mowed.
just moved back to the farm to kind of start running it.
And our custom hay provider didn't get to it in time, but it needed to be cleaned up so it looked nice. And it was like,
Okay, let's talk about, because I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but what podcasts were you into at that time?
So it was called The Pitch.
And the pitch. But it was
The
also
pitch-
how I built this.
Well, how I built this, but The Pitch was basically a vlog, or not really a vlog, but it was just a podcast keeping track of Gimlet Media. That was like the first podcasting company that produced podcasts for other entities. And so it was just the whole storyline of having this idea, getting investment, and then putting the product out. And
So days in a tractor listening to a podcast led to a problem that you thought you might be able to solve.
well, and we had seen it ourselves on coming back, and both of us having full-time jobs, and there was 2 or 3 of us handling the farming operation. But whenever we need to get a lot of things done, it's easier to find people in and around the community that have the experience and say, hey, we got to go gather these set of cows, run them through, and not have to explain step by step what's being done and be efficient and good on animal handling, etc. So that's where we went with the genesis of Ag Butler was more on the livestock side.
So give me that 30-second elevator pitch for Ag Butler. Ag Butler is...
Yeah, Ag Butler was bringing the gig economy to agriculture because it was always set up on word of mouth or the neighbor that came and helped you. But we expanded it like the ride-sharing technologies that everybody uses now. And now that ride-sharing technology is food delivery or groceries or what have you. And so since we started Ag Butler coming up on 7 years ago this summer, which is wild to think about,
Time flies when you're...
the society is more comfortable with all this digital transaction booking things. And so
it was a laborer being connected with a
Farmer-rancher.
farmer-rancher who needed help. Transportation, labor, hauling, fitting,
just any type of
fence
task.
work.
Or even hiring somebody for an extended weekend so a farmer and rancher could leave with the family for a little bit and take a breather.
So you had this idea.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the process thoroughly. 2017, 2018.
Well, we made it official LLC in 2018, and then really started getting to work on it in 2019.
So Ag Butler pulled you into the ag tech startup space, which is not one that we had ever touched before.
Correct. And it was, 7 years ago, it was still pretty new to be ag tech in the Midwest because all of it happened on the coast.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the, working uphill because the first wave of ag tech really wasn't that successful because it did start on the coast and it tried to get implemented into where actual ag happened. Wasn't functional just because it wasn't built by people in agriculture.
So what was that world like? Take me through that first concept pitch, not real pitch, but that concept conversation. Like we weren't coders. We've talked to co-angler on here, and he chose to go a different route and learn coding. Well, we didn't do that. We had full-time jobs. Coding is costly and hard.
Yeah.
So how did you figure out what you needed to do?
Well, yeah, and 7 years ago there wasn't the easy plug-in tools like there are now to build. And so you and I and other people on the founding team, we knew how to build structure and business and a market rollout plan. And so we leaned on our network to find the group that could help us build out that platform for our initial MVP. And what was nice about that, the team lead on that developer group grew up on a generational farming operation in Kansas, so he could translate back and forth to the developers what we were trying to say and what the developers were explaining to us.
Yeah, different language.
And we were able to, it was every 2 weeks, early Friday morning, we would have a sit down with the developers and we built it with them because there was a lot of times back then people would sign up with a third-party developer and not see an end product until 3, 4, or 5 months later.
So, entering that startup space and as we were trying to create this product, how does that ag tech at that time compare to like traditional agriculture, like the world's?
Oh, very different because technology at that time, still people had a bad taste in their mouth on the first run of tech that came in.
Still kind of like worried about where their data is going and who's storing it. And
not only that, but, these products showed up that weren't applicable to day-to-day tasks or didn't actually solve said problem that they said it would work. The huge difference was on how things moved and progressed. I mean, ag tech world, they wanted things to move quick and, trying to get funding. The thing that was similar to that was trying to get funding would be like going to your local banker on your line of credit if you're looking at buying additional cows or additional land, what have you.
And you're pitching on a concept.
Yeah, pitching on a concept and trying to forecast a return on investment that the product's not even built yet. Whereas ag, it's tangible. You have your profit loss sheets to show what's happening, and there's some actual meat there that you can utilize to get that funding for the year, and then you either sell cattle or sell crop to pay that back and run that flywheel. So it was very different.
So we got a product, kind of, and we started pitching. We started entering startup competitions, kind of like Shark Tank, like 100% like Shark Tank, but at a smaller scale. What was that like?
It was nerve-wracking, but
I get nervous now just sitting here thinking back on it about how scary and nervous I was.
Well, and you need to let everybody know majority of the time we were pitching in it as a team.
Yep.
And I like to present very differently than you do. I like to work it off the cuff because it's more natural for me.
But it's not, you can't do that when you have straight up 10 minutes
or 5 minutes
or 5 minutes. You have to be more polished, and we had to practice. And I was
but we
worried
got it
that
there
you
and got it
couldn't
done.
get there. But we did it. And we were successful.
Yeah, and I mean, it was an interesting time because, like I said, it was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting into finalists and getting into pitch competitions, and the biggest one was whenever we got to present at American Farm Bureau in the Ag Innovation Challenge, and so we were in the top 10 of a number of applicants. And I mean, unfortunately, we didn't make it to the final four, but those companies had been established, and we were
New.
6 months old and had 3 pages that clicked on our demo.
Yeah,
app.
we had we weren't even beta testing.
No,
we were just a demo app. Yeah, that you could only utilize from our phones.
Yes.
It wasn't like anybody could just like have it. So yeah, that was quite some time. Memory memory lane. Okay, raising capital. I think that's one of the things that we had no idea how to do either.
No, we essentially were blazing our own path because there wasn't the true ecosystem in Missouri at the time. I mean, there was a couple little hubs in Kansas City and in St. Louis, but it was for more well established, and so we kind of went on our own little trail, learned a lot, learned what to do and what not to do, and so that also presented opportunities, all the way up to currently where we were able to assist with other companies that were trying to figure
that's
things.
my next category. You're jumping ahead.
That's why we're the same person. We can read each other's minds.
Okay, so you created Ag Butler. We had this idea. The idea was successful. It's still in operation today. But what it provided you was a foot in the door in this startup world.
Yeah.
And so how did that kind of organically turn into a consulting gig?
Well, I think it lended well to my multiple idea mindset of being able to see a bunch of different ideas and sifting through which ones would actually work in production agriculture or which ones would not. And a lot of people have great ideas but didn't know how to get them to certain levels. And I mean, us getting Ag Butler out and exposed as much as it did kind of gave us a nice blueprint to help those companies with.
Right. Well, I think that like a lot of people have ideas in agriculture or in the ag tech space, but most of the ideas aren't coming from people who live and breathe it. They're not coming from the production side, where you were.
And there's still some that do come from people that are at the heart of the problem, but the difference is those individuals always just kind of keep it to themselves and don't think there's an opportunity there. But there's been a lot of success in our network over the last 5-6 years.
One of the things that I've seen you be able to do is be that as a consultant, be that buffer from the scientist or the brainchild to the actual consumer who's consuming it, because a scientist is an expert in their line of work, but they're likely not able to relay that to the end user, that producer, and so that's kind of where you've come into play.
Yeah, and making the conversations easy and having a lot of pain points, experience it firsthand in the farmer rancher hat, but then placing it into the business side on how it would help part of their operation, or maybe they're looking at doing an expansion to see how this different tool or feature would benefit them.
So what are some common mistakes you see founders making?
Well, at the get-go, especially Ag Butler, we try to do too much at the very beginning, and then we got we got to experience the pandemic when we were on the uptick, and we kind of had to sit and pause, which was good because we were running full tilt, and then that allowed us to take a break and reassess and plan and be strategic. And so there's a lot of times where a lot of these different groups see the path and they want to get to this certain point by a certain time, but you also have to have your head on a swivel to see if there's an opportunity that gets you initial traction or first customers, or maybe
or opportunity to pivot where demand takes you.
Yeah. And that's where we always joked when we were in the full build-up mode of Ag Butler is our business plan was always in pencil because we had to pivot so many times because, in-person events shut down for a year and a half. And then you had to go on full digital, and not everybody was consuming digital as freely as they are now. And, it's a very different game on getting that growth.
One of the problems I saw, and still is in the industry, and I'm saying startup world, not necessarily ag tech or anything, is it's the tried and true. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You have to earn capital, gain capital. You have to have capital to move forward, but how do you get that capital? And then a lot of investors won't invest in you unless you have so much capital already raised, and so it's a juggling act.
Well, that or as I said, my father was an ag lender, and a lot of people that take a risk on expanding their farm or ranch operation, they want to show everything matches. I'm only asking for this much, but I can see that we're going to do this. In raising money in startup world, if you're not raising X amount, a lot of times it's like, well, you're just not raising enough for us right now. It's like, well, I'm being very, very smart with your money, but I get it. And so you have to find those perfect matches. And in the last few years, we found a few of those perfect matches, depending on the stage of the company. There's been some gaps that have filled that these groups have moved down into some different areas to where they kind of find that sweet spot to de-risk a bunch of new technologies for the next stages down the line.
Okay, so if someone listening has an idea, what is your first piece of advice?
I would say not just find your core group, but test it out within your network. And we did that. We sent a 10-question deal to not only our peers and family, but other people within a certain radius of where we were, just to see if we were on the right track. And I mean, labor is still a huge issue. And there's ways that we can address that and make it better as we move forward in agriculture. But as far as just an idea, I mean, there's so many more resources in Missouri, particularly, especially in Southwest Missouri. I mean,
share some of those.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Oh,
you got ahead of me.
Well, I'm supposed to ask the question.
Well, it's fine. So in all these pitch startup competitions, I got introduced to the E-Factory, who is here in Springfield. And the E-Factory and Codify had joined forces to connect a bunch of the small business groups, hubs across Southwest Missouri, which then eventually expanded into Innovate Missouri Initiative. I'm sorry, Rachel, I might have said that wrong if you're watching, but I will get it right. But like they're here in 2 weeks is the start of Missouri.
We don't know when this is going to air, so.
Okay, so May 4th starts Innovate Missouri Week. And so it's connected all these small business hubs and accelerator hubs to where if somebody is, let's say, in Northwest Missouri, but there's somebody that has experience down here in Southwest, then the whole network works together for this true smart. And it's not just for ag, it's for any type of business. I mean, my thing is, if it seems like a good idea to you and it keeps nagging on you, you can moonlight after hours, because that's what we did.
That's what you have to do.
We built it during the nighttime hours when the girls were asleep, and then presented it, and we got traction, and then we continued.
Ivy wasn't even alive when we first started the concept.
Exactly.
Yeah. Share the program you went through in Colombia, that little project. You compete and you have an idea and you work as a group.
Oh, that was, I was like, what are we talking about?
Well, you were supposed to read my mind. Come on.
Well, there's too many of them, but that was Missouri Startup Week, or weekend, and they do it every spring, and I think they just completed it a couple weeks. It's always like the second weekend of April, and so they go in. It's held at Equipment Shares headquarters in Columbia, and you sign up, and there's different ways you can be involved. You can go and pitch an idea, and then if one of your ideas gets voted on by the people attending, then you recruit people to help you work on. And so you work on building a business literally in 72 hours. And then those companies pitch at the end of the day. You can go as just an observer and kind of watch and build your network, or you can go as a mentor and help these companies, or you can go full in and just say, I need to unplug from my day-to-day and go play and see.
And that's what you did.
Yeah, did that. Was that last year?
I think 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Yeah. We worked on a little deal and, met some other people that have folded into the network that could, be beneficial down the road.
And I think, and it's not really a question, just a comment, that, Ag Butler opened doors for this huge, national network. In not just ag tech, but the startup world, especially in Missouri, but really coast to coast. And that's an invaluable network that you've cultivated, and it's pretty cool to watch you. I don't want to brag on you, but good job.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I can talk to a fence post if I have to. So,
So we're both extroverted, but I'm only extroverted with the people I want to be extroverted. I'm choosy. Kevin can talk to a fence post, and so at these events going with you, I'm kind of a wallflower. I enjoy them, but you'll just meander and meet and greet, and that is lucrative. We've cultivated a network. So
well, if you're going to go to events, make the most out of it. You might as well try to get as many numbers and contacts as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's not as entertaining.
Okay, so we're gonna change topics.
Okay.
Okay.
Which topic are we going to?
We're gonna talk about cows. On the way here today, you said, okay, so what are we going to be talking about? And I was like, well, you don't need to know. It'll be fine. And he goes, I thought I was interviewing you. And I'm like, no, maybe later. I did say that someday I we'll change seats.
Ooh,
and you
nice.
can interview me, but not today.
And then we could have viewership send in questions that they really want to know.
Oh, maybe.
That'd be cool.
The first question I don't know. I did ask him why he was wearing that hat. I was like, this is the oldest.
It's not the oldest.
The current oldest, but that used to be all black. It's not dirty. It's faded. So I'm glad you dressed up for me today.
Hey, I did, mostly.
You don't even have clean shoes on.
Working shoes.
Okay. So we're going to talk about cows, but cows started for us when we met.
Yep.
And
we not necessarily, because when we met, we were both in Department of Ag program.
Oh yeah, so Missouri Agribusiness Academy. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was in the program, and you were the ambassador
from my class.
From your class the year before, because you're a year older than me.
Yep.
So that's when we first met. And then several years later. Yep. My dad needed to hire someone to fit cattle for us at the Ozark Empire Fair and State Fair. And you walked into my life.
Well, not the first year, really.
Yeah, but you were in my life. So I really, I wasn't around that year very much. but you did help out. The next year, when I was 19, you were working for us again for the second summer, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and your family had like 5 or 6 showmen in it, and so there was probably at least 13 head.
We brought big strings, yeah.
Yeah.
So you earned your pay. So we were brought together on the livestock road showing cattle, or on the cattle road showing livestock. And I'm a Hereford girl.
Yep.
You're a Charolais boy. And you now run both operations for the family. So at the end of the day, cattle is your passion. You've had desk jobs. You've worked for other people over the course of time. And you've always said, I just want to run cows.
Yeah, I do.
And
it's
now...
way more simple.
And now... Is it though? Is
yes.
it though? You say that, and then you complain about it.
It's because my only other coworker that I have on a daily basis is our 3-year-old blue heeler, and sometimes he doesn't really understand that he's not in trouble all the time.
Well, here's the deal: you love it, and you complain constantly. So
it's called debriefing. I'm just debriefing you on the day.
Tell me about our operations.
So our operations, it's in Lebanon, Missouri. We still have the pasture in Aurora where J.D. Bellis Herefords began. In the wintertime, we winter everything in Lebanon to avoid any big snowstorms, ice storms, breakdowns, what have you, and keep my mother-in-law at peace that there's nothing to worry about during the wintertime. So it is beneficial to have cattle off that place from November till now, and then we can expand things out and put cattle there. So we're on the Hereford side, kind of a rebuilding mode with the foundational genetics on utilizing embryo transfer at a high level. So we have a good set of donor cows that we're building that cow herd out with, and selling bulls to customers this year's been really good. We've also had a lot of people call about Hereford females to make those nice F1 baldies that everybody loves. And so it's been good there. Our calving group has, we shrunk down the windows, high performance, and getting ready for a production sale this fall. And then the Charolais side, recently it got moved down to Lebanon also, and that way it's just easier to manage everything. So we're not going in 3 different directions. And then we also have 200 acres of hay ground that family friends of ours that go to church with us help. We do that on shares.
So what's it like maintain a quality purebred herd? You're not just running cows.
No, not just running cows. Setting up what we're going to breed to every year, kind of follow some of the sales trends so we can keep those sale averages up. It's a lot easier now because of the cattle market is so good, and it's a struggle to figure out how many cows want to cull, but it's better for producers now that you can easily make that decision on the ones that are not producing and costing you more dollars. You can reinvest that into the ones that actually do. And bull sales have been really good. I mean,
and like who's your bull market go to?
I mean, mostly it's been commercial producers. I mean, the Show Me Select program, we have a bunch of customers that sell baldy heifers in that, and they can be double generation Cavanese, which is a big thing for Show Me Select. So those people don't have to worry about pulling a bunch of calves in the middle of a snowstorm. So there's a lot of generational customers that utilize the Show Me Select heifer off of their females that are sired by Bellis Hereford bulls.
This is a loaded question, so don't give me all the details. No one wants them all.
But maybe a part 2 if I have to give you all the details.
People would fall asleep. What's your typical day look like?
There is not a typical day.
Oh, good answer. Next question.
I mean, it all depends. One thing, whenever we decided that it was important for me to come more full-time, focus on building Ag Butler and the ag tech startup space and focusing more on the cattle operations in the fall of 21. Like, the big thing that helped was every Sunday evening when everything kind of settles down, I have a notes that has every day listed out on tasks that I want to complete.
The key word on that list is want to.
But anybody else that is listening to this, and our good friend Justin Rafe that was on not too long ago, he's a full-time farmer as well.
Yep.
Not every task gets completed on the day that you want to complete it because of multiple things. Weather, breakdowns, or children events that pop up that wasn't on the calendar that should have been on the calendar, so you have to kind of
read the calendar.
Well, I do, and that's why I start putting big events on the farming operation on the family calendar.
Yeah.
So no typical
therapy session.
No typical day happens try to be fairly typical. I mean, making sure everything is where it's supposed to be, and we don't have any health issues that we have to address. So, I mean, like, most every morning is going through making sure there's nothing that has to have immediate,
attention.
Yes. Calving seasons, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, we won't touch that today. What is the biggest challenge balancing farm life and your business ventures?
Well, it's really hard, especially since we live on the farm now versus before. When we made this, we were living in town Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And so there was that separation where, the home office, you're right there on the farm. And if it's a sunny day, you start rolling through that list of to-do. If I can get all this done, then when I get home, I'll get this done. Or there's days that there's a number of Zoom calls to be had, and then you start looking down and you work on business projects, and it's like, oh, I need to, take care of this before sun goes down or before an event is happening or this weather pushes in. So it's a lot of running.
So what keeps you grounded through all of that?
Keeps me grounded? A lot of responsibility to make sure things get done, so everything still is running fairly smoothly. Mm-hmm. So we don't. I like to say I try to avoid as many landmines as possible. And I had to go away from putting out fires because some people outside of our little network, especially in today's, there's too many, wildfires that happen, and people are like, you guys have a fire down my? No, sorry. It's just putting out fires to keep the day going forward.
Not literal fires.
No, not literal fires. And those are not great. So, but a lot of friends and family that are dealing with wildfires on it. So I don't want to make light of that situation.
On the way to school this morning.
Yeah.
I asked Harper, I was like, hey, I'm interviewing Daddy today. She's like, yeah, I know. And I said, what do you want me to ask him? And she said, what's your favorite thing to do on the farm?
My favorite thing to do on the farm is, when I don't have a schedule to stick to, is taking one of our show animals, washing and blowing them out completely dry. A lot of people don't like to either do the washing or the blowing out. And then if I can take my time and clip one out ahead of a show, like, that's my
happy place.
Absolute. That's my reflection time. As long as I'm not interrupted and have to go take care of other things. But I've been clipping cattle since essentially Harper's age.
Yeah.
Not so good back then.
You've learned a lot.
I've learned a lot and had the opportunity to learn from some very skilled people.
So what does it mean to you to run your family operation, help run my family operation, which equals our family operations? What's it mean to you?
It means a lot.
Why are you laughing? I'm trying to be serious.
Well, just the way you said mine, yours,
Well, I was trying to mean like,
ours.
I was like, both families, but they're really our families
Yeah.
because they're equal.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, no, it's fun because, both of us grew up on generational family operations. And so to be able to kind of put it all together on another century farm that's in the family and just know that, as long as we pay attention to what we're doing and not, overextend what we're trying to accomplish and do it step by step, then we can truly have it set up to where, like retire-ish and let the herdsman take it over.
Mm-hmm.
Our
herdsman, he refers to our 12-year-old as the herdsman.
Hey,
Yeah.
I always dangle it out there that she
Yeah.
could do all of her studies.
Yeah, he wants
Everything.
our kids to be homeschooled so that he has their labor.
It's not just that.
So you are, because I work full-time off the farm,
Mm-hmm.
little less flexible. So summers, the girls are home with you.
Summers are great.
Mm-hmm.
And
then they go
then
back to
start
school
a
and you miss
school right after Missouri State Fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough because we get a lot done in the summer.
Well, you get a lot done, but I think it's pretty cool, that quality time.
Oh, yeah, it is good. And
Our kids run feral. They don't brush their hair. I don't know if they brush their teeth. Who knows what happens during the day or what they're eating or not eating, but they have fun.
well, it's just like whenever our lifestyles were very fast-paced and going all over before kids showed up, and everybody's like, oh, you guys are going to have to slow down. It's like, well, they're just going to have to adapt.
That's one thing that, like, I've made a point. I've done a few other podcast interviews where I've been the guest recently, and some of them were talking of, one was, female driven, and it was, women in power. It was Girl Power is the name of the podcast. And they asked me, like, with kids and how that changed. And like, my point was that, like, when you and I decided to have children, we brought the children into our lives. We didn't change our lives because we had children. We are driven and innovative people. We like to stay busy. And I would not push my busy on anyone else. But this is a choice that we made. Mm-hmm. And our kids just do it all with us.
And they kind of set up their own little busy schedules on their own.
Yeah.
Really, we let them do.
Last night you were hustling home from across the state, hauling cows, and from other meetings. I was coming home from a business trip, work. I hit one event at a track meet to buzz home to our kindergarten production of a play.
Yeah.
And so, which is every day is a little bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you, what's next for you? This is scared. I did write this down.
What's next for me?
Yeah, like, this is scared. I want to look ahead, but I'm scared to ask you, what's next for you? Do you have more ideas? Cattle, farm, both? Like what?
Well, really the next thing is, so Ag Butler, in the last couple of years, we've been playing around with some other revenue opportunities to where it could be more stepping stones to our overreaching goal that we are looking at doing. And there's some good opportunities in the very near future to be able to, I'm not going to say rebrand, but kind of a relaunch of what Ag Butler can do, not just for rural and ag communities, but for anybody that's interested not only in ag but in other industries, because of the switch that you see with people wanting to set their own schedules and be more flexible. Because a little silver lining that had come out of COVID was people kind of reassessing what they want to do with their lives, and the opportunities of people establishing their own entities and kind of put it on themselves to be successful versus, doing the regular 9 to 5. So that's an exciting deal. And then, growing and expanding our cattle operations, and both girls, our youngest is wanting to show a heifer. And so that's a big change because she wasn't really comfortable around the bigger livestock. And so she's kind of come around with that. But, the big thing would be kind of reestablishing a purpose for Ag Butler and to see where it goes, because there's some opportunity there. And then always open to find some of those other nice little hidden gems that need a nice little nudge in ag tech that would work for not only our operation but friends and family that do production agriculture.
So, you might be an avid listener. I don't know if you listen to my podcast, but I always I know Harper does.
Yeah, she does.
I always like to ask, what would you tell 18-year-old Kevin Johansen?
Oh, that would be a challenging deal because, essentially 18-year-old Kevin, I would have told him probably not worry so much about trying to be a veterinarian. Just stick to what you really like doing, which was, taking care of cattle, going on the show road, selling cattle, and just, stay the course because it'll be there at the end. Because, like I said, grew up in a mostly crop community, and we were kind of the anomaly out in the suburb of Tipton, Missouri, of Syracuse. And so, we were doing some showing, but, and then, during college is whenever the Charolais operation really changed and went from just a regional deal to more of a nationally known. And so it was really cool to kind of see some of those goals that set for the immediate operation to get more national recognition. And we were a very small herd compared to some of our friends that have, 200-300 head of Charolais cows. And so, it's, we've infected our oldest daughter with a bug that we have. And so it's not a bad thing. But, I would say the main thing would told myself, you can still learn somewhat to be a vet, because I have to be a vet essentially on farm all the time. Yeah. But
and our youngest says she wants to be a veterinarian. Our oldest, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. She's been saying that for a good little while. So
we'll see. We need a vet on the farm, so maybe she'll stick through it. Maybe she'll last longer than you did in those classes.
I've told her, yes, go get your DVM, but I want you to go into embryology.
That's right. And I guess we should preface, it wasn't because you weren't smart enough or you couldn't handle the classes. It's you had to go to class. You may have had too much fun on the side, maybe.
Well, I had all this
early years.
I had all these clients that I had to go clip for.
Yeah, you weren't even in Columbia.
It was one of those times that it was a weird scenario in which what was needed for the veterinary space, and we're seeing some of those issues because of that focus in the veterinary
topic.
Yeah, that'd be a part 2 discussion.
I don't think anyone wants part 2. But maybe if I have you back, I'll let you interview me.
I think that'd be entertaining, because a lot of your listeners need to know who you are.
I like to ask the questions. Kevin, thank you for joining me and letting me dive deep into your brain and let us go behind the gates of ag innovation and tech world and cows.
Well, thank you for letting me be on this side of the camera.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Beyond the Gates. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. New episodes drop every other Wednesday. For more content, follow Around the Ozarks and Beyond the Gates on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to the daily newsletter at aroundtheozarks.com. Join us next time for more stories of grit, growth, and the spirit of rural life.